Hi guys, so I'm finally back. I think my dad is just dying to be in my blogs, or my vlogs as they're called. He's just been annoying. Anyway, um, I was at the stage of the nasal tubes, so one was thick and a thick bore, and one was a really thin one, which was for when I was ready for the nasal gastro feeding, which was weeks into my recovery. I received all my nutrients from the Hartmann's IV saline drips. So the large bore tube that was in this side, it basically fed right up the nostril, into the sinuses, down the back of my throat, right down the esophagus, and into the stomach area. That was basically there for how can I put it? Almost like to express my stomach. So if I was feeling sick and I obviously couldn't vomit because of all the damage, what they would do is attach a large syringe to the tube, and they would start to pull back on the syringe, and obviously the suction would take anything that was, aggravating my stomach out into the syringe, and they could dispose of it. It was not a comfortable feeling. It wasn't painful when they had to do that, but it's a really weird feeling that I don't even think I could properly describe to you. It's almost as if your kind of stomach and esophagus is being pulled closed. It is so weird. It's more a sensation than anything. It's not pain. It's just maybe a bit kind of like sickly almost. Don't get me wrong, it really did help with the nausea and stuff. The nasogastral feeding tube that was up this nostril also went down the same route. It went into the stomach. Oh, I should have told you, when I went for the endoscopy thing at the very start of going to high dependency, that's when they put the tubing in as well. The reason they done that while I was there was they had to monitor where they were putting the nasogastral feeding tube, because it actually had to go down my esophagus and actually go through my stomach and through the duodenum, which is like a valve sort of muscle on your transverse colon. It controls when you eat and you put food into your stomach. It masticates in your stomach. It starts to break down. The duodenum stays closed while it's breaking down, and then it will pulse open and closed and let a kind of measured amount of food through each time it opens. The reason for that is because the bile duct that you have in the liver slash gallbladder area, it basically spits bile into your colon to help break down the foods. So it can only do that with certain amounts at a time. So this nasogastro tube had to bypass the duodenum, so as when I was getting fed through the tube, the nutrients went straight to the intestine where they could be absorbed, rather than them possibly leaking out any small perforations or causing any nausea or damage to the actual stomach. So I think I had told you about the hallucinations. There was times where I would say I probably quite upset my mum. I say my mum because she was there when it happened, because I was having hallucinations that my grandpa, who passed away unfortunately, had came to visit me, and I was so convinced that he had been to visit me, and I had spoke to him, and I couldn't believe how happy I was to see him. And it was so strange because I couldn't equate that he was no longer with us, even though obviously I know that. It was just so realistic. My mum, she liked hearing that because she knew it brought me some comfort. I don't know how you guys feel about, you know, people visiting you from the afterlife and stuff. I personally am a complete believer in the afterlife. I'm not religious in any way, shape or form, but I do believe that we move on to a different place, almost as if you have just moved into a different room. So you're still there, but in a different room. But anyway, right, that's just the way I believe things, right? So it did bring me some comfort, thinking that my grandpa had been there. Whether he was or not, that's debatable. Anyway, there was other times that it was crazy, right? So I'm not very politically correct, right? So, and I'll just say I am not racist, nothing like that. I accept everyone. If someone is nice to me, I'm nice to them, and I accept everyone. So when I refer to someone as being black, please don't take offence to that. It's just to get this actual story across because it's quite funny. There was a cleaner used to come into high dependency. He was about 6 foot tall, probably about the same age as myself. He was black and he was, I think he was African, I think. Something like that. But he had come over here to live and work. When he used to come in, he was so black that literally when he smiled his teeth were bright white and his eyes looked bright white, and he used to wear these like high top trainers that were pure ice white, right? I'm going somewhere with this, so just bear with me. So when he used to come into the high dependency ward, he had always stopped and said hello, and then when I couldn't talk, obviously, he would just talk a bit to me and then go on with his work. And then when I could talk, I would ask him how his day was, what was happening, blah blah blah. One night it was, right? One night I was semi-conscious. I was doped up on all the meds I've told you about, and I seen this 6 foot black cat, right, as in whiskers, meow, cat, walking into the ward on its hind legs, right? I know you're going to think I'm totally crazy, but just go with me on this, right? The cat walked into my ward, came to the foot of my bed and stood looking at me, right? This cat was huge, right? Now, to give you an insight, I used to have a black cat, and not long before I went into hospital, he had passed away, so it's obviously just been playing in my mind. The next thing that happened was the cat moved at the foot of my bed, and it looked as if it was floating on like bright white lights, and it spoke to me, and it had a big white mouth, and it was crazy stuff. Anyway, I was totally convinced that this was real, right? Totally convinced. And I could not wait until my mum came the next day to tell her about this black cat. So mum arrives the next day and I'm like, Mum, I need to tell you something and you're not going to believe it. She's like, oh, what is it? Thinking it was something to do with the doctors. She sat down and I started to tell her, and she just looked at me like, what? I was like, Mum, I know you're not going to believe me. This happened. Totally convinced, right? I was even laughing because I remember seeing the funny face and these bright lights or the rest of it. Anyway, Mum stayed, we had our visit, we were talking away about this, and she started having a laugh. And the next thing, this guy that was the cleaner, the African, the black guy, comes into the ward, right? I must have still been so zoned out on the medication that he turned into a cat again, right? And I'm like, Mum, there it is! Can you see it? The 6-foot black cat? And she's like, what are you talking about? This cleaner, right, was literally standing next to me to say hello, and I'm pointing at him saying, there's the black cat, there's it sounds crazy, right? I was like a pig in shit because I thought there was a 6-foot cat. Turns out it was simply because I was so doped up on drugs. He was